Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a literally historic, chaotic day in global news. We'll be looking closely at the events of July 16th, 2026, and tracing how military conflicts in the Middle East ripple all the way down to your local economy, your digital infrastructure, and, believe it or not, even international sports. It's a day that perfectly illustrates just how deeply interconnected our modern world truly is. So, here's our agenda for today. 1. Middle East crises escalate. 2. Europe's defense and economy. 3. U.S. politics and policies. And 4. Global trade and sports. Let's dive right into Section 1, Middle East crises escalate. Right now, we're witnessing some incredibly rapid tit-for-tat military escalations between the United States and Iran. Following President Trump's warnings about targeting Iranian power plants and bridges, Tehran officially countered by threatening critical infrastructure across the entire Middle East. And it doesn't stop at threats. Iran's Revolutionary Guards actually claimed a ballistic missile strike on a U.S. airbase in Jordan. Meanwhile, on the naval front, the U.S. is aggressively enforcing a renewed port blockade. We're talking U.S. Marines actually boarding a commercial ship, the MT Wenyao, in the Gulf of Oman, just to verify compliance. And this followed a really dramatic incident the day before, where a U.S. aircraft completely disabled an unladen oil tanker that was trying to break through the embargo. Now, you might be wondering, how does this affect the rest of us? Well, these maneuvers have massive immediate global consequences. Fatih Birol, the head of the International Energy Agency, issued a really stark warning at a Council on Foreign Relations event. He pointed out that the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical shipping bottlenecks on the planet. With these shipping lanes closed off by the U.S.-Iran conflict, the IEA is officially warning of a looming, severe global energy security crisis if a resolution isn't found quickly. Meanwhile, the human toll in the broader region remains absolutely devastating. Health authorities in Gaza reported that the total death toll from Israeli military operations since 2023 has now surpassed a staggering 73,250 people. On top of that, over 173,000 people have been injured. Just to put the recent timeline into perspective, authorities note that over 1,100 of those deaths happened just since the October 11th ceasefire was declared. Domestically, Israel is facing immense internal pressure from multiple different directions right now. The Knesset just advanced a highly controversial media reform bill. Opposition parties are heavily criticizing these new regulations, basically calling them Erdogan-style reforms designed to muzzle independent broadcasting. And, this crucial political vote was happening at the exact same time that major roads were being blocked by fierce, ongoing protests by ultra-Orthodox men demonstrating against the imprisonment of draft dodgers. Okay, moving on to Section 2, Europe's defense and economy. The ripple effect of that closed Strait of Hormuz? We're already seeing it hit economic projections hard. The International Monetary Fund has significantly downgraded its economic outlook for the euro area. Growth for 2026 is projected to drop to an anemic 0.9%, while inflation is set to rise to 2.9%. And the catalyst for this? The IMF explicitly points the finger at energy market disruptions caused by the Middle East crisis. So what happens in the Gulf of Oman is quite literally hitting European wallets. And compounding Europe's economic challenges are some major fractures in its unified defense strategy. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron are meeting near Cologne, and they're basically in full salvage mode. They're desperately trying to recover independent European rearmament coordination because their highly anticipated joint fighter jet project, the Future Combat Air System, has completely collapsed. So with the jet project dead, what's their backup plan? A heavy pivot toward nuclear deterrence. Shifting gears a bit to the resolution of a tragic legal saga in Europe. An Italian court has finally delivered verdicts in the 2018 Morandi Bridge collapse in Genoa. That disaster claimed 43 lives. Now, years later, the former CEO of the country's highway operator, along with 31 other officials, have officially been convicted. It brings a close to a deeply painful chapter in Italian infrastructure history. Let's cross the Atlantic for Section 3, U.S. politics and policies. In a bureaucratic anomaly that might honestly set a speed record, we're looking at a 54-minute job tenure. Seriously, 54 minutes. U.S. Attorney Roger Rogoff was unanimously chosen for the position in Seattle by district judges, yet less than an hour later, he was fired via email by the Trump administration. It's a highly unusual showdown for sure, and Rogoff has already retained legal counsel to fight the sudden dismissal. We're also seeing a really fascinating clash over technology infrastructure and resource management. New York Governor Kathy Hochul just enacted a one-year pause on building new hyperscale data centers. These are those massive facilities that need just immense amounts of electricity and water to cool their servers. President Trump attacked the moratorium on social media, labeling it a terrible decision. But Governor Hochul is firmly pushing back, arguing that the state absolutely must prioritize and protect local utility costs and water supplies before letting these resource-heavy facilities expand any further. Over on Capitol Hill, lawmakers heavily questioned prominent Goldman Sachs attorney Catherine Rumler. The subject of the grilling? Her past communications with the late Jeffrey Epstein. Rumler faced some really sharp criticism from Congress during the session, especially after she defended the emails in question as merely lighthearted jokes. Meanwhile, the media landscape is totally buzzing with speculation. Rumors have been circulating rapidly that major television networks might actually refuse to broadcast President Trump's planned primetime address focused on protecting election integrity. But it's important to note here that scheduling guides currently still show normal programming, and experts point out that the networks haven't officially rejected the White House request yet. So, we'll see how that plays out. Rounding out our look at U.S. policy, Secretary of State Marco Rubio led a major announcement regarding international security. The State Department has issued new visa restriction policies specifically targeting international far-left extremist groups. And on top of that, the department took the massive step of formally designating two powerful criminal groups, the Juarez Cartel and Los Viagras, as terrorist organizations. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, Global Trade and Sports. In a landmark shift in global trade dynamics, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hailing what he calls a significant moment. The newly operationalized Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement grants zero-duty market access for a staggering 99% of India's exports to the United Kingdom. I mean, that covers almost the entire value of their bilateral trade. It is a massive milestone that's definitely going to reshape markets in both regions. And finally, in a moment of much-needed global unity and celebration, the sporting world was completely captivated by a thrilling soccer semifinal. Argentina successfully defeated England, which officially locks in a highly anticipated blockbuster championship game. Argentina will now face off against Spain in the 2026 FIFA World Cup final. So, what does this all mean? After tracing today's news all the way from naval blockades in the Strait of Hormuz down to a data center pause in New York, and from collapsed European defense projects to massive new trade deals in Asia, it really leaves us with this vital question. Just how resilient are the interconnected global systems that we rely on every single day? When a single shipboarding in the Gulf of Oman can shift economic projections in Germany, it proves that local news is truly global news. Thank you so much for joining me for this Explainers, and keep questioning how the pieces of our world fit together.